Listen, before we get started, a few announcements. Stephen's going to come lead worship for us in just a second. Coming up this Sunday, let's talk about some events coming up. This Sunday, we're going to honor our graduates this Sunday, so make sure that you're there to support them. And if you're a graduate, make sure you're there, okay? Make sure you get up. It's going to be an awesome service. When Stephen's been playing, it's going to be a good service, so make sure you're there to support our graduates. September 20th, the next day, we're going to have spaghetti for teachers. We're doing spaghetti for teachers for the Churchill Intermediate School. We're going to have about 33 to 40 teachers, right, Sherry? The aides aren't working, so we'll have 40 that day. Awesome. Listen, if you guys, I know some of you work, but if you don't work and you're off that day, we need your help. If you're youth leaders, students, I need you there. Listen, all I need is from 9. What's Bobby doing? Bobby, you want to preach? Okay. I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Okay, students, all I need is 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to about 1 or 1:30. That's all the time I need from you. This is an awesome opportunity to reach our community, is to just feed our teachers and say thank you for being and giving of your life and being a sacrifice. You know, teachers go through a lot of things, and some good things and some bad things. But I just want us as a church to start. This has just been my overall goal since I've been doing interim, is that us as a church, as a student ministry, reach out outside these doors and we just serve. It's going to be a free meal. We're going to have spaghetti, some awesome bread, Texas toast, garlic stuff. It's really good. Salad, of course, for those skinny people, and dessert. So make sure you come out and help us be there at 9 a.m. Okay, we're going to help set up. We're going to cook some things, and then we're going to be serving the teachers at 11 a.m. that morning. So make sure if you can get off your youth leader, please be there and help me. If you don't work on that day, come help me. Students, I need you there. There's no. You just need to be there. Okay, 9 a.m. Just give me 4 hours. Okay. Any other announcements that I'm forgetting, Sherry? Anything else? Okay, good. Let me tell you something real quick. I had an awesome opportunity for the service to lead a couple of kids to Christ today. I think that's an awesome thing. Let's give a hand for God. Let's give a hand for God. That's three. That's 3 in the last week. Stephen led Jeremiah to Christ Sunday morning after service. I led a couple of kids tonight. Listen, it's so easy to go and say, I want to be saved, and you say the prayer, and you say, well, that you got a kid, you put an altar or something. Really, I want you to trust me. I want you to understand this is important to me. I want you to know that if you ever come to me, and you ever ask me to lead you to Christ, I want to make sure you understand what that is. It's just not a prayer, but it's a change of life. It's a change of where you are. He says that he makes us new creatures. And I asked both of these students, both of these young students, that question. Both answered that they wanted to become saved, and that little girl, Georgie, had tears in her eyes, and I know that it's sincere when I see that from a young girl. And I'm so thankful for God to allow me to be part of that. Let's all go to the Lord of prayer as Stephanie comes up to lead us in worship. Father, we thank you for this night. Father, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for everything, Father, you provide with us, Father. I pray as our students are some are leaving school to go to the next chapter in life, Father. Some of those are going to be seniors next year, Father. Some are moving up into high school or middle school, Father. I pray that you be with them now, Father. Lord, you give them guidance over this summer, Father. You keep them strong, keep them united together, Father. And I pray as we go into service, Father, that your Spirit speak to us, that you challenge us from your word. And Father, as we worship you, let our hearts connect to you in the only way that they can. In Jesus' name we pray.
Will everybody so afraid. Please stay right beside me. With every single step I take. How many times have you heard me cry? And how many times have you given me strength? How many times have you heard me cry out, God, please take this? How many times have you given me strength to just keep breathing? Oh, I need you, God, I need you now. I need you now. Oh, I need you, God, I need you now. I need you now. I need you now. Remember me in a Bible cracked and faded by the years. Remember me in a sanctuary filled with silent prayer. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I remember
our Wild Grace series. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done this. Stephen just finished up his Grace series this past week on Mother's Day. We're going to continue our series, Wild Grace. This week we're going to be talking about, the subject of this week is going to be grace is all we need. Grace is everything that we need. And we're going to be talking about a couple stories in this message this week to show that grace in our lives, if you're saved today, grace is all truly what we need. And I back this up with Scripture, exactly coming from Scripture, and what in 2 Corinthians. That's the chapter we'll be in this week, 2 Corinthians. But let me tell you the story first. There was this girl named Heather and her dad Kyle. Now they're both doctors, okay? Both doctors. They're in Zimbabwe, and this is their mission field. This is what they do. They go over there. They're part of this group that her dad Kyle founded. It's called Physicians Aiding Physicians. And they're sitting down to lunch one day, and she notices on her dad's hand that there's a cut. And she immediately becomes fearful. She immediately gets sick to her stomach as she's eating her sandwich because she realizes what this means. He just got done doing surgery on somebody there. And she knows that if he got cut, there may be a chance, there may be some of their blood transfer to his. Now, if you've heard anything about Zimbabwe, you know that's in Africa. But you know that the disease that's prevalent there is AIDS. As soon as she seen this cut, she was like, oh my gosh. And she said, Dad, what happened? And he told her what happened, that he cut his hand while he was doing surgery. So she urged her father, she said, Dad, you've got to take this antiviral treatment. You've got to take this. And this antiviral treatment, it prevents the HIV virus from spreading. But here's the kick. This treatment has awful side effects. It's awful side effects, and really, really bad side effects. But after she begged her dad to do this, he consented and he took it. Later, nausea and fever and weakness. He continued to weaken the following 10 days until he broke out with an unmistakable rash of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is always fatal, normally fatal. So what they did is she said, Dad, we've got to get back home. We've got to get back home. You're basically dying here, Dad, and I don't know what you have, but we've got to get here. And he's trying to be strong, and he shrugs it off and says he'll be fine. But she finally gets him to go home early from her scheduled trip. He boarded the plane with 104.5-degree fever. He had trouble breathing. He had chills. He was sick. He was awful sick. His eyes had been yellowed. He had enlarged liver, which they both knew as doctors that is acute liver failure. She went in the plane. She explained to the pilots of the severe situation that was going on, her dad, and talked about the whole situation and showed the pilots her dad and said, we've got to get back home to America fast. Is there any way you can take a different route that's faster? Is this the fastest route? She's asking all this information. After she did that, she went back to her seat. Her dad was sitting in her seat. He fell asleep. So she took this opportunity to get her some water. She took some water while she was on the plane, drank some water. She got up after she drank the water, and she went to the bathroom. And immediately she vomited. She vomited not because she was sick, because she was nervous. She was worried for her dad. She thought, what is going to happen? My dad, before my eyes, my hero, is laying here, and he can't do anything about it. He helps other people, and he does surgical procedure on other people. He's a surgeon, and he does all these remarkable things. But right now, I can't help him, and he can't help himself. So in the bathroom, she fell down in a fetal position. She laid there. She was crying. And just didn't understand what was going on. And she prayed these simple words. I need help. God, I need help. I can't do this. I need help right now. Now this is a true story. It's not a made-up story. As soon as she prayed those words, she heard a knock on the door, on the bathroom door. Now, you know how bathrooms, how many people have flown before? Okay? Yeah. those are not big bathrooms, okay? I mean, it's not got the 2-sink thing in there, all this fancy stuff. It's basically just a toilet and the size of this seat, and you have to walk around. If you're ever flown, if you ever do fly, you'll realize what I'm talking about. So she's cramped in here. So somebody's knocking on the door. So she gets up and opens his door. And the guy, he's heard her vomiting, and he says, "Are you okay?" She says, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm a doctor. I'll be fine. I'll take care of it." He said, "Well, really? You're a doctor? I am too. And so were there was 3 guys with him to come check on her." He said, "Really?" He said, "My friends are too. They're doctors too." He said, "In fact, everyone on the plane is a doctor. We're all heading together to a doctor's conference in Mexico together. 100 doctors are on this plane." I think about this, and I think about this story. This plane could have been filled with circus jugglers going to a circus conference, okay? It could have been. Who knows? I mean, it could have been filled with anybody. It could have been filled with tattoo artists going to a tattoo conference, if there's such a thing as that. I mean, it could be filled with professional whistlers. I don't know if is that a sport. I don't know. If it was a sport, I would not be really good at because I cannot whistle. But it could be filled with professional whistlers. But here's the thing: Heather and her dad happened to be on a flight with 100 doctors. The doctors immediately evaluated him and offered her help and said, "Listen, you rest. You rest and we'll watch you. We'll watch you." God had met their need with grace. Listen, if you're here tonight and you're fearful, there's something in your life that's making you fearful and you're weak, and I know, guys, that you're going through changes, you're going to different schools and you're changing schools and you're fearful and you're like, this is not going to be the same. I don't know how I'm going to operate without this in my life and with these people in my life. You got to realize that you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Amazing Grace. Everybody knows the hymn Amazing Grace. Hey, right, everybody knows that? Everybody know Amazing Grace over here? You know that. One of the verses says this. It was wrote in the 1700s, but it still speaks today. "'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home." Let's turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. We'll read verse 7 through 9. I'm going to be reading a little different version than I usually am because I like the way it's put in this version. It's New Living Translation. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7 through 9, it says, "I was given a thorn." This is Paul speaking. "I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, 'My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness.'" Now it's really interesting to me that Paul right here uses this imagery. He's talking about a thorn in the flesh. And how many of you had thorns in your flesh? I mean, it's not fun, is it? I mean, it's not real fun to have a big old thorn in your toe or in your finger. Everything you do, if you just touch it just a little bit, it hurts your whole body. And it's in there, and you're just trying it. I mean, when I was a kid, listen, it's a true story. I got a piece of a thorn in my foot, in my toe, my big toe, okay? I was a kid, and I couldn't get it out. I was like, Dad, you got to help me, Dad. I can't walk. And I was walking through the house, like hurting real bad. And he said, "Okay, I'll dig it." And I thought, any normal person, they use tweezers, okay? You use tweezers to get stuff like that out. If my dad comes at me with a knife, okay, that's pretty scary, okay? And he says, I'll do it. I'll take care of it. He takes that knife, and he's digging that thorn out, and I'm going, I'm dying here. Paul uses this image of a thorn. He's saying this thorn is in my flesh, and I prayed 3 different times. I have begged the Lord. And this is just something, when he says, I begged the Lord, this is not like, "Lord, will you please get this thorn out of my flesh? Lord, will you get this?" He is begging, "God, get this out of me. Get this out of me." Every step in life that we take, every step in life that you take, every step in life that I take, there's some thorn in our life that's a reminder to us of this thorn that Paul's talking about. Maybe it's disease of the body. Maybe you're struggling with a disease in your body. Maybe it's something that is physical that you struggle with. That every day, no matter what you do, this disease or this thing you struggle with in your body reminds you of this thorn that just pierces you. Maybe it's sadness in your heart. Maybe there's something that makes you sad, and you constantly are reminded by this. And the sadness always envelops you. Maybe you have somebody that's in drug rehab. Maybe you have somebody in your family that's addicted to drugs or alcohol. Everything you do and every step you take, you beg, God, help them. God, take that love of this away. Maybe it's your dad moving out. Maybe your parents are going through a divorce. I don't know. And every time you go to school and you have this grin on your face, and you're like, everything's okay, but in your heart, that thorn is digging in your flesh, knowing that your home life is not what it needs to be. Maybe it's the D on the report card. Maybe some of you are struggling with that right now. I don't know. You will be struggling with it when it gets to your parents, I'm sure. Maybe it's craving to be one of the cool crowd. You do anything that you can to be in the cool crowd. You do everything you can. Everything you constantly do are reminded of, hey, I've got to be in the cool crowd. I've got to do this. And you beg, take this love. Take this thorn out of me, God. You plead with him. Listen, you may do it more than Paul did. Maybe you outdo Paul here in Scripture. Maybe more than 3 times. You did it several times. And the way I would think about it is this. Paul's begging was a sprint. Guys, if you're dealing with these things, maybe some of these things that I've talked about, maybe some things that I have not talked about that you're struggling with, and you're trying to move through Christ, and you're trying to do things, and this thorn digs. It digs and it torments you. And you can't move forward. And you're saying, I beg God numerous times, God, help me with this. Take this away from me. And you're in this marathon, and mile 19, you're about to hit the wall. You can't take it anymore. You can't take it. This wound, it's festering. It's oozing with pain, and you just can't take it anymore. And there's no sign of tweezers coming your way. But you hear this statement, 2 Corinthians. My grace is all that you need. You ask this question, well, listen, I've got to, you named these things, Josh. You named these numerous things. Maybe it's, I'm dealing with 3 or 4 of those. Is God's grace going to cover me with that? Is God's grace going to be with me in all these things? Can God ever run out of grace? Let me ask you this question. Think about this. Everybody think about this. You took a sponge right now, and you put it in Lake Erie, and you pulled it out. Would you soak up all of Lake Erie with that sponge? You're a smart guy. You're smart with this. I'm proud of you. Everybody together right now, I want you to do this. You do this, okay? Do this with me. Everybody take a deep breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Is there any oxygen left in the atmosphere? Did we take all the oxygen out of the atmosphere? No. If you go to the forest and you pick a pine needle off the tree, are there more pine needles? There's millions of pine needles. This is the only way I could think about trying to communicate to you guys how God's grace is unending. It doesn't have an end. God's grace is abundant. God's grace is at work in our lives. It says, I read this about 3 weeks ago or a month ago in worship service while I was leading worship. John chapter 1, verse 16, it says, grace upon grace. Why don't we put that up? Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. John chapter 1, verse 16. From his abundance, we have all received one gracious blessing after another. In one translation, the one that I read, it says grace upon grace. We receive grace upon grace. If you want to keep going with that verse, grace upon grace upon grace upon grace upon grace upon grace, etc., etc., etc. His grace never ends. If God presents you guys with a challenge, if you're facing something in your life right now, and you're facing one of these things that I've talked about or something that I've not talked about, if you're facing one of these things in your life, remember this statement. Remember this statement. If God presents you with a challenge, if God presents you in a challenge in your life that you just feel like you can't get past, remember that He will provide the grace that you need to meet it. He'll never present a challenge to you that His grace cannot cover. Now, don't get that confused. It's not us. It's Him. We are going to come to things that we cannot handle. There are going to be things in our life that we just cannot handle, whether it be physically or mentally or spiritually in our lives. But God, with His grace, He covers each thing. It cannot be big enough for God. And some of you may say, well, this sounds kind of elementary, but sometimes I think we forget the basics when we try to do other things. We forget, as Stephen said, we talked about this week, sometimes we get so wrapped up in church, we get so wrapped up in ministries, we get so wrapped up in doing things for God that we forget His basic principles, and that grace is all that we need. Now, when I talk about this, I don't want to paint this picture that you're not going to be always, like, once this grace hits your life and this thing happens and God works a miracle in your life, and He does these things in your life, and He takes that thorn out of your flesh. I don't want to paint a rosy picture that you may not get another challenge later. Sure, there's anxiety. Anxiety is going to still come in your life. I mean, that's going to happen. It's life. We live it every day. I mean, there may be anxiety, and you may be facing, you may be almost close to doing drugs. You may be presented with alcohol. I don't know. You may have a disease that maybe you don't have now, you may have later. You may be presented with that challenge. Maybe your parents are talking about divorce right now. Maybe you're facing pressure from your parents, your teachers, or your friends. And you think, listen, I was a teenager. I know you get in your room, you go, listen, I can't deal with all this. I can't deal with all this stuff. And so many times we think that adults think that, hey, that's no big deal. And you think, well, I don't want to talk to my parents. I don't want to talk to my youth leaders. I don't want to talk to Josh or Stephen or anybody, because it's not a really big deal to adults. Guys, we know where you've been. We know what you face. And listen, nothing is too little to talk to someone about. Nothing is too little to ask God for His grace on your life, because He says grace is all you need. Problems make up your world, but they do not control it. Problems are going to happen, but they should not control your life one bit, because God is in control of your life. Problems happen, His grace covers it. Let's go back to that story. With the help, listen, I told you that story. With the help of 100 doctors, Kyle survived, okay? He survived. He survived the flight, and he recovered from his reaction. The test showed, he took tests later and showed no HIV. And no HIV in his system. Yes. He recovered from that. He recovered from everything. Did he stop? Let me ask you this question. Did he stop? Do you think that Kyle said, listen, I'm not doing that anymore? How about die? He didn't stop. In fact, he realized that grace happened in his life, that grace, something he didn't control, but God controlled. He realized that happened, and he went full force into his ministry. And he got more people involved in his ministry. And he's doing greater works right now in Zimbabwe as we speak for his ministry. He said this, Kyle said this, this is a statement from him to one of the people that wrote this story about him. He said when he was wheeled on the plane, he couldn't really speak. He was so weak he couldn't speak. And in his head, he wondered if anyone would be on board to help him. He said, I spoke to God just in my head and said, God, I pray there's somebody on here to help me. This is too much on my daughter. Little did he know, God answered his prayers 100-fold. There was 100 doctors that could help him on board. As I prepared this message about 2 weeks ago, I didn't realize this event would happen in my own life. We were back from Tyler Hensley. He was having his graduation party at Bays Mountain. And Hillary had left, and we were at Meadowview Parkway. And we stopped at the red light before you get to the bridge. And this lady in front of us, she turned up the off ramp. Is that what it's called, the off ramp? She turned up the off ramp the wrong way. And I looked at Hillary and I said, Hillary, she just went the wrong way. So we went under the bridge and we stopped at that red light. When it turned green, we turned up the right ramp. And I thought, well, she'll stop and realize that she's going the wrong way, and she'll back up, turn around. No. She continued to go the wrong way on the highway. And Hillary watching this. Hillary calls 911. They say they already received a call. And Hillary are praying. We're praying in our hearts that everybody will be okay. We get up the hill. You know, when you're coming from Johnson City, when you get up the hill, you see Kingsport. You see all the lights. If you come at night, you see all the lights. As soon as we cross the hill, we see the accident. This lady was driving the wrong way, hit this other lady head on. Never seen anything like that in my life. Never have seen anything like that in my life. It was complete chaos. My wife, being the superwoman that she is, and she would probably disagree when I say that, she's a nurse. So we stop, and she jumps out. And this is across the road. You know where Johnson City is, you know, the big guardrails. She looked like, I told her she looked like the superwoman jumping over the guardrail. She went to check on the two ladies. Make a long story short, things went on and things, and somebody had overturned that tried to miss the wreck, and they were okay. And Hillary's checking on these two ladies, and you've probably seen the news about that. And you know that the two ladies passed away that were in the head-on collision. Now, we're minding our own business. I'm worried about Hillary's safety because she's on the highway over there, and I'm in the truck, and I see this car coming behind us. Our side, flying, absolutely flying. People are slowed down because people want to look at a wreck. You've seen those people kind of go, you know, just want to look. We all do that. We're inquisitive creatures. She about hits the person in front of me. She swerves. I look up in my rearview mirror, and I see this car barreling towards me. She misses me, okay? She misses me by, I don't know, that much. She slid beside us. At that time, listen, God's grace was with me. I think about this, what hit me so hard, and I know I'm crying like a big baby, but it really, what God's love and grace really is, what the fundamental basis of God's grace is, that He is there with us. And believe me, guys, God was there with me. This much, what happened to me. But I say all that to say this, that life is life. Life is beautiful. Did that lady that was driving up the highway, did she know that somebody would be driving towards her on the highway? No. That's why we must, every minute, every second of our lives, if we know Christ, do what we can when we can, and understand that things are going to happen in your lives. Things are going to happen. But know that as in His Word in 2 Corinthians, He says, grace, listen, there's thorns in your flesh. You begged me to take this out, but I want you to understand, my power is best in weakness. Grace is all that you need. Grace is all that I needed at that time. Grace is all that Kyle and Heather needed in their trip. Grace is all that you need right now, whatever you're facing in your life. Grace is all that you need. Tonight, if Bobby will throw up two questions, I want to ask you this. I don't want you to answer these out loud, but I want you to really ask yourself this question. Where or who do you turn to when you're in trouble? Turn to your dad. Abba Father. Good. I want you to think about that, guys. Guidance counselor. Okay? Guidance counselor. Next question. What do you need help with most right now? Think about in your life right now. What do you need most help with? What's something you're facing right now that you need help with? I don't want you to answer this out loud. What you think in each one of your lives. What is that obstacle? What is that wall on mile 19 that you're getting ready to hit? What is that obstacle? And you're saying there's nothing that can help me. There's nothing that I can turn to help me. But you got to realize that grace is all you need. Grace is all you need. Second question. If you know God, have you talked to God about it? If you're facing this obstacle, have you said, God, I need your help? As Heather did in that small, cramped bathroom. She just uttered the words, I need help. I'm not going to do a formal invitation tonight, but I'm going to ask you to think about these questions in your head. And I want you to know, guys, that I know that I've got the title interim, and that I know that you probably want a youth pastor or a new youth pastor or whatever. I don't know. But I want you to know from my heart. I want you to know from my heart. Yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Yes, I'm not going to do things that certain people do. And I'm not going to do certain things that certain people do. And I'll tell you this. My heart is for you guys. My heart is there with you guys. And listen, I want you to know with all of my heart that I'm here for you. And if you ever need somebody to talk to, and you're facing those things in your life that you just feel like you're not comfortable talking to your parents or whatever, I'm here for you. And I want you to know that each one of these leaders back here, guys, they're just as much, their heart is for you just as much as me. And that we love you very much. And I want to let you know as you go into college, some of you that are graduating, I want you to know that we'll always be there. Always a phone call away if you need us. But I want you to remember those questions. Have you talked to God about those things? Have you asked God? Have you done as Paul said? Have you begged God to take this away? And understand that His grace is truly all that you need. Let's stand together in prayer. Father, we come to you now. Father, we thank you. Father, I thank you right now for your word. Father, I thank you for your grace. Father, I thank you for everything, Father, in my life, Father, where your grace has been all that I needed. Father, that your grace will continue to be all that I need. And Father, as our students go out, Father, and face this world, Father, as our students face life, Father, I want you to help them realize, Father, that you are all they need. And Father, they need to turn to you. They need to turn to you, the ultimate healer, our Savior, and our Redeemer, Father. I pray tonight, Father, I thank you right now, Father, for the souls that were saved tonight before service, Father. I thank you for that blessing, Father, that they go home and talk to their parents, Father, and let them know what happened in their heart tonight, Father. I pray for each student individually in this place tonight, Father. You know exactly, Father, what they're going through. You know exactly what they're facing. I want you, Father, to help them realize that we're here for them. Father, that you put us in this place for a reason. Father, we're here to be that shoulder to cry on, Father. That person to talk to when you don't have anybody else to turn to, Father. Father, that they turn to you, Father. They ask you for help. Just basically say, Father, I need help. I need your grace. I need your grace to cover me. Father, I thank you for the student ministry. Father, I thank you for this church and what it means to me. Father, what it means to this community. Father, I pray as we continue to worship you, Father, as we continue to look at your word, Father, that we not only take this in our hearts, Father, to keep it within, Father, we share it